OTAs began last week in Minnesota, a regime change for the Vikings. Regime changes often come at the start of a rebuild or maybe in the middle of one, but not for Kevin OConnell. Actually favored to go to the playoffs this season with most of the pieces back. They've got an explosive offense and a defense they hope is much better. The Vikings signed linebackers Zadarius Smith and Jordan Hicks. Also used their first-round pick on safety Lewis Seen. Kirk Cousins is back as well, signing a $35 million extension for 1 year. Patrick Peterson is also back. He teams up with our Bryant McFadden, one of our wildly successful podcasts, All Things Covered. B-Mac, you were there last season, the final year for Mike Zimmer. You're there again this season. What's the difference under head coach Kevin OConnell?
I think the energy, the excitement, the anticipation, people are fired up here about what is expecting to happen when it comes to wins and things like that. So when you look at the energy the players have, talked about, they've emphasized the change in culture. The players are fired up, the fans are fired up. I think right now every home game is pretty much sold out because of the build-up leading with this new regime, as you talked about, Chris. They're expecting big things here in Minnesota.
B-Mac coming to us from the Vikings practice facility. Kirk Cousins, we mentioned, signed that 1 year extension. He's got his haters, right? He's struggled when the primetime lights come on, but he's been consistent enough for this team to be successful. How do the Vikings turn Cousins' consistency into wins?
Well, I think Cousins, ideally he's in the best situation for a quarterback. Having an offensive-minded guy as the head coach in Kevin OConnell, coming from the Sean McVay tree, understanding and knowing how to put his guys in the best situations to be successful. And think about this. Yes, you talked about the wins weren't there a year ago, but Kirk Cousins, individually speaking, had an outstanding year. They just couldn't finish the drill. We saw so many fourth quarter laps from the Minnesota Vikings that led to them missing out on the playoffs, that led to the coaches and the former GM getting fired. But if you win one or two of those ball games, this is a team that would have made the playoffs a year ago. So me personally, I think Kirk Cousins is set up to do big things, especially if all the guys around him, they're healthy. When we look at the skill position players and, of course, the offensive linemen.
Justin Jefferson, maybe the most skilled of all, one of the best receivers in the league. Only Cooper Kupp with better odds to lead the league in receiving yards. Can Jefferson do it?
No question. No question. I thought about this situation for the gritty man, Justin Jefferson, and thinking about how the Rams utilize Cooper Kupp, especially a year ago, in the slot, outside as an X receiver, moving him around in motion. I wouldn't be surprised to see Justin Jefferson become the Cooper Kupp for the Minnesota Vikings offense, being able to move him around a lot more than what we've seen so far in his first 2 seasons in the National Football League. And there will provide so many opportunities for Jefferson to be successful. So that's the thing that I'm excited about, understanding and knowing how Kevin OConnell has the ability to put his best players in positions to be successful. We might see some of the same things that we saw from Cooper Kupp for Justin Jefferson this upcoming season. If that happens, you better believe those numbers, he will be able to surpass those numbers easily.
OConnell had those pieces in Los Angeles, the Rams winning the Super Bowl in his final season as offensive coordinator there. So he might have the best wide receiver in football. He might have the best running back in football. Dalvin Cook is certainly up there, definitely top 5. You could argue top 3. And he has the 3rd best odds to lead the league in rushing. But B-Mac, he's never played more than 14 games in a season. The key, staying healthy.
No question. That's the key about Dalvin. When you look at what he's meant to this team, when he's on the football field, they're a better offensive team. They're a better team in totality. The thing about Dalvin Cook as well, he's been able to kind of change his pace when it comes to off-season regimen for him to be healthy, especially towards the latter part of the season. And I look at this new offense under Kevin OConnell, some of the same things that I believe will happen for Justin Jefferson, I visualize happening for Dalvin Cook. We've already heard rumors that he's been split out more as a pass catcher. He has the ability to do a lot of damage in the passing game, but when you talk about earning his money, it's all about the carries. He's one of the more explosive backs in the National Football League. When you look at his number, his season total rushing number right now, I think he will go over that number because he will be in the lineup. And number two, he's that type of player. He's such a dynamic running back. And the thing that I love about Dalvin Cook, outside of him going to Florida State, which I should call running back U. Yeah, I might be wrong. I might be right, but that's what it is. how explosive he is. Dalvin Cook is the type of running back, Chris, he can get 10 carries and give you 80 yards because he's a big-time playmaker when the ball is in his hands. And I think, well, like with Justin Jefferson, under this new offensive scheme, he's going to set up into big-time numbers under Kevin OConnell.
Yeah, maybe he's even setting up right next to Justin Jefferson. You mentioned that they've been putting him out at the wide receiver position at some points during OTAs, tinkering around a little bit. Dalvin tweeted out a video about a week ago of him making a catch down the seam last season for the Vikings. What could he do split out wide?
I mean, I think he can have the ability to be one of the best all-around running backs in the National Football League. His hands has always been a reliable asset to what he does. We just didn't see a lot of it. Now understanding that he will be more involved in the passing game, I think he has the opportunity to actually get into that best offensive player conversation when you talk about some of the elite players at that position, not just the running back, but in totality and all levels offensively. So I think when you look at his numbers, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dalvin maybe have anywhere between that 500 to 600 receiving yard mark based on the ability that he has and based on the opportunities.
Producer Jack wants to know if Dalvin Cook would be the best wide receiver on the Packers roster right now.
Wow. Now, I'm not going to say that, Jack. That's just disrespectful to the wide receivers that are already currently there in Green Bay. So I won't say that, but I can tell you this much. I wouldn't be surprised to see Aaron Jones potentially be one of the best reliable pass catchers for the Packers because we know what he means for their offense and when it comes to the passing game. But I'm not going to say that, Jack. That's just disrespectful to the wide receivers they already have.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it either. I love Allen Lazard, and that's a guy that was not drafted who might end up being their best receiver going into this season. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the football. B-Mac, the transition from 4-3 to 3-4. How's that going?
They loving it. They're loving it. When you look at the potential outside rushers for the Vikings in this new 3-4 scheme, you got Danielle Hunter, you got Zadarius Smith. Now, Smith, he's coming from a 3-4 scheme. Remember, early on in his career in Baltimore, 3-4 scheme was something they utilized. Then, of course, in Green Bay. So he's familiar with that type of strategy. Now, for Danielle Hunter, it's a little different. But from what I'm hearing so far, both guys have made the adjustment. For Zadarius with a new organization, for Danielle, this new scheme, nicely. And I think both guys, Chris, if healthy, have an opportunity to easily get double-digit sacks. They have an opportunity to be one of the best pass rushing duos, not just in the NFC North, but the entire NFC. And that says a lot. And one thing I know about the 3-4 scheme personally, my entire career I was a part of a 3-4 scheme. Most 3-4 schemes, they're always in the thick of things when it comes to sacks. When you look at the most notable best sacking defenses over the last few years, most of those defenses, Chris, they come from a 3-4. It's something about that 3-4 schemes that it just yells sacks, sacks, sacks. So this is an opportunity for both guys, like I said, to get double-digit sacks.
Double-digit sacks. What about double-digit wins? Their over-under win total is set at 9.
Over. You know, I've been talking to quite a few people that's tied to different organizations in the National Football League, especially since the draft. I believe the Minnesota Vikings from top to bottom, they have the best personnel in the entire NFC North. That says a lot. The thing about Minnesota, they have to be lucky when it comes to injuries and just finishing the drill in late ball games. So I'm taking the over. I think when you look at the roster, when you look at the schemes on both sides of the football, the experience in key positions, this is a team that's set up nicely to get at least 10 wins. And I'll say this also, even though you didn't ask me, I'm giving you my opinion, Chris. I believe the Minnesota Vikings will win the division this season. And I'm not just saying that because they fed me and Dane nicely here since we've been here. They gave us some nice breakfast and things like that. And croissants. I love my croissants from Warren, by the way. They did me real nice with that. I'm not just saying that because they fed us real good. I'm saying that based on the roster, the personnel, Chris. You follow what I'm saying? If you look at the roster from top to bottom, they got a shot.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.